get started, please feel free at any point tonight to get up and grab water or coffee, cookie. Restrooms are right around the corner. So welcome, we're going to talk to you about AMSA's Upper School tonight, grades 9 through 12. My name is Kate Driver, I'm the Director of School Counseling here, and welcome, we're really glad to see you. So to start out, we're going to talk tonight about graduation requirements at AMSA. You'll have an overview of each department here. We'll talk a little bit about athletics, and then we'll wind up with the actual selection process, the nitty-gritty, and talk a little bit about college planning and what you can expect over the next 4 years. So this is a quote from an AMSA graduate that we wanted to start with. AMSA does more than teach subjects. AMSA taught me how to think, how to take a problem and make it simple to solve. So the graduation requirements can also be found in the program of studies on our website, so don't feel like you have to get all of this down. But 6 credits in math, including geometry, 4 in English, 3 science and history, 1.5 computer science credits, 2 credits in world language, 1.75 physical education and health classes. The senior year class is 1/4 of a credit because it meets opposite our senior seminar, which I'll talk a little bit about at the end. And then 1 credit in fine arts. So our total credit requirement is 28, including electives. We also require successful completion of MCAS, biology in 9th grade, and math and ELA in 10th grade, which is pretty standard. So again, you can find all of this information online, and we're also going to be posting this presentation online after the fact, so if you want to come back and reference it, you can. So again, you're going to hear a little bit about what these credits look like in each department as we go throughout the night. So a couple of words about course levels here at AMSA. We have 3 levels of classes, and arguably 4, but the 3 that you're going to see most often are our CP classes, our college preparatory classes. These courses are aimed at preparing high school students for entry into college or university. This is our standard level. We have honors classes as well. These courses cover more complex material. They're definitely more in-depth. They may require more independent learning and greater effort. They also may move at a faster pace. And then we also offer advanced placement courses. They're college-level courses, and that curriculum has been approved by the College Board. Most often that culminates in an exam in May, the same year that students took that course. And we have, I believe, 17 AP courses at this point. We also have a few courses that have a prerequisite of an AP course that you'll see some of our seniors taking. So when you look through our program of studies, there are some courses that are beyond these 3 levels. Just something to think about as you begin to think about the 4-year planning process. So we're going to move on to math in just a moment, but I also wanted to take a moment and introduce you to Sarah Pantano. She is the 8th grade counselor, so she'll be working with all your students, continuing to work with them this year, but then she's also going to loop up to 9th grade with them next year. So that's going to be really helpful in transitioning them into the high school as she's getting to know all of them this year. Okay, I'm going to hand it on over to Luba Schmidt in the math department.
Hi, I'm Luba Schmidt. I'm the head of math department. Very nice to see all of you here today. So, AMSA math department is really proud of our high school curriculum. And just have in mind when we will look at that, just the most important goal for our math department is not to teach students all these beautiful subjects, but to teach them how to think, and to kind of, not to teach, but encourage them to think deeply and to make connections between things. So this is where we see our major goal. So as you can see, we have different sequence of courses. With the sequence on the right is the most rigorous one. We are really proud that we introduce ideas of algebra, geometry, pre-calculus, and calculus to majority of our students. Doesn't matter in what sequence they will choose. and what sequence will be recommended by the teachers. In 9th grade, everybody taking algebra and geometry. In 10th grade, more rigorous courses beginning pre-calculus. And for this, the most right column, these students will be done with geometry. They are doing geometry in 1 year. All other sequences, as you can see, we have 2-year course of geometry. Just pay attention to that. This sequence of courses is designed for students who need more time with basics. So they study algebra not in 2 years and not in 1 year, but in 3 years. Do you hear me, by the way? Yeah, okay, good. We are really proud of our selection of courses for 12th graders, because until 12th grade, it is more or less the sequence that it is pretty common for any American high school, algebra, geometry, pre-calculus, calculus. And for 12th grade, we have very interesting courses. We have intro to calculus, actually, for those who are maybe not ready to calculus, but still would like to be introduced to some ideas. And this course is not as rigorous as this one. We have statistics, we have AP statistics, we have multivariable calculus, we have vector calculus. This one is more theoretical. We have linear algebra and differential equations, and we have the course of finite math. Some years we offer it, sometimes we do not offer it. It is a pretty new course. And we have the course that is very popular, accounting and business fundamentals. If I will be a student, I will definitely take this one. And usually students fight for this course. So this is our map of courses. And have in mind that your current teacher will recommend your student, your child, to the entrance point. But we're not tracking students. They can move to the right, and some of them choosing to move to the left to take less rigorous courses. For students moving to the right, usually for example, from here to here, or from here to here, or from here to here. We have all moves. Sometimes it is a move diagonally like that. And I teach BC calculus, and I have in my classes students who move diagonally. And usually they're the best. So some summer work might be required if students moving to the more challenging course after the summer. And for some courses, the kind of entrance exam where we're checking what they studied during summer is required. Taking the entrance exam is required. So this is our math courses from math department, from AMSA math department. Questions? Yes.
Yeah. I only see trigonometry up there in the upper right corner.
Yeah. Good question. Excellent question. Because trigonometry is part of pre-calculus, but for this course, they are starting trigonometry early. Great question. Thank you.
No matter what, if you
Yeah.
go through the field
All students will be introduced to trigonometry, and majority of students will be introduced to ideas of calculus at some level. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Sir, explain a little bit about what you meant about summer work.
It depends. It's really, if you're interested, you can contact me directly, and we can discuss. But usually it is, let's say, like I said, it depends on which level you are. So more 9th grade probably will require less summer work than 10th grade, than 11th grade. So, yeah.
Can stay at the ninth grade level, can they move from level to level within the school year or within?
Excellent question,
Okay.
thank you. We try to not to do it frequently, because one thing when students is catching up during summer, and another thing when he or she is trying to do it during school year. But, for example, in September, students mature very differently, and during summer it might be a huge, jump in maturity, and they can study something on their own on the side. If a teacher sees that students is above the level, obviously, the teacher will come to me in September and will say, this student needs to be moved out. And we have these instances. I wouldn't say a lot, but consistently, I would say, we have these instances. And sometimes it might happen after September, but usually it's happening in September. Yeah.
Second column equal to CP and third column honors and
This is advanced, this is honors, and both of them are CP courses.
okay, so
Yeah,
column
yeah.
2 and 3 are CP.
Column 1 and 2, yeah, column 2 and 3. Yeah, column 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah.
How many credits?
How many credits? I believe,
Because
yes.
on the webpage you have
Yes.
algebra and trigonometry like 1.5. And
I
geometry
believe
half.
the credit, it might be answered by our council.
So it's 6 credits including geometry.
Yeah, I understand. So if a student takes the first in grade 9, the algebra and trigonometry, it will be 1.5 plus geometry half, or it will be all 1.5?
1.5 plus geometry half.
Half.
So 2 credits.
2. Yeah.
Okay.
And by the
And
way,
this is requirement?
yeah, by the way, pay attention that actually the requirements for the 12th grade is to take only one mathematical course. We have many students who are taking more than one, and we're really proud of that, because they're taking math courses, because they want to. Okay, you can always email me with questions, and I will try to answer as soon as I can.
So don't worry, the English department is far less complicated than the math department, so this will be easier. Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Okay, so for 9th grade and 10th grade, we have an English department that largely follows what the history department is doing. So either by theme or by topic, we choose our text to kind of tie in with that where possible. So you'll see that the chronology starts at the European Renaissance and world literature, and moves on to World War II and Romanticism, which is kind of the themes that the history department will be teaching through the year. It's not perfectly aligned, but it's almost there. For 9 and 10, it's really simple. You're either in CP or you're in honours, and you have to take the core English. So everybody will be placed into core English. But they can take additional electives, and you can see those on the right-hand side. So we have the possibility in 9th grade of any of the ones that you see in the top 2. You can do creative writing and you can do journalism. Philosophy is not available until 10th grade. The Retrivian Man is a brand new initiative with the science department and the history department, but that's only for 12th grade. Hopefully it's still there when your students get to it, because it sounds kind of fun and exciting. And you can do yearbook, that's a half credit. It comes under our umbrella, but even though it's not strictly literature based, it's kind of to do with editing, so it's under our umbrella for that reason. When students get into 11th grade, students are either in CP or they're in honours, and this is American surveyed history of literature, or they go into AP literature. We've stopped this year allowing them to choose between language or literature that year to try and help it to grow, and that will probably stay the same. So then they can switch it out and do one in 11th grade, and they can do the other AP in 12th grade if they would like to. 12th grade becomes more complex because there are 3 core classes. We split it into Shakespeare, American Gothic, or Contemporary Multicultural, and those 2 used to be joined, and we decided they really should be independent. So this year there are 3 branches to choose from in core. Or you find that students choose to do the other AP that they didn't do the year before. And then they can take the extra cross-curricular if they like. So that was really easy. Has anyone got any questions? Boom.
So, good evening. I'm Scott Charay, Head of Science Department. We're a little more complicated than the English department. So your students are taking biology next year. And they're all taking biology, there's no choice. We have to get them through MCAS and get them past that little hurdle so we can get them on their way to bigger and better things. So next year, honors or CP biology. After that, they're going to be taking chemistry, either honors or CP. Then we start in with some electives. Okay? AP is not a level in science, it is an elective. Okay? So you can choose to take it, but it will not satisfy a graduation requirement. Okay? So 10th grade we open up AP biology, 11th grade AP chemistry, and 12th grade you have access to all 3. We also have some electives. Currently we're offering anatomy and physiology, forensic science, and environmental sustainability, along with a couple others we're going to start next year, like meteorology and a course called Vitruvian Man, co-hosted with the English department and the history department. Sadly to say, forensic science is going to take a leave of absence for at least a year. But that's it. That's it in a nutshell. And if you hold off your questions until I get through the other half of my department, then I'll open up to questions. Okay, so computer science. 9th grade. Slide's a little bit outdated, I'm sorry for that. 9th grade, we have an opportunity to take Intro to Java, Intro to Web, or Intro to Engineering. Now, they're not specific paths, but introductory courses, so that your students could take 3 intro courses if they want, or they could take Intro to Java, AP Java, and whatever other crazy computer science courses that you dream of. Now, our computer science curriculum is by far the most dynamic curriculum in the school. That's based on the fact that computers are changing, and they're changing rapidly, and everything is happening rapidly. You have children, you know the devices, you know the apps. Today there's one app, tomorrow there's 20 other apps. We have to keep pace. What we don't do is we don't sacrifice the core learning. So the base model that is permeating through all of our courses in CS is algorithmic thinking. That's our base. It doesn't matter what else we're teaching, that is the base they have to understand. And that's the thread. 10th grade, Intro to Java, Advanced Web, AP Java, Advanced CAD. 11th grade, we open up everything. We have engineering. We have a new course. We've had, this is a second year now, cybersecurity. We have a robotics course. And we have replaced Oracle. We've modified it, so you still get the Oracle part, but it's an introduction to data sciences. So we're trying to lead more into the big data. You got your cybersecurity, you've got your big data. Maybe in 3 years we'll have artificial intelligence, I'm not sure. But we're trying. I mean, we're bringing courses that colleges don't have degrees for yet. So we're trying to be as cutting edge as possible. Sometimes we get too far ahead and we gotta kind of dial back and wait for some supports to get there, like collegiate level. So questions? Yes, sir.
You have an intro to engineering in grade 9, right?
Yes.
What does that cover? What do you
Well, we start at the very basics. Engineering design process, and then we start old school, teaching them how to draw lines, line segments, and projections. Then we introduce them to our computer-based programs, whether it's going to be SolidWorks or Autodesk. And then, once they get past that, they'll take another course where we'll actually use 3D rendering to produce their objects. And it's all project-based. This whole sub-department are all project-based. Yes, sir.
So the CAD courses are all just mechanical CAD? Doesn't include like electrical engineering, schematic capture, board layout, anything like that?
So it's heavy in mechanical. It's heavy in architectural. We do a little civil. We dabble with electrical, but we don't really go into it that much. We have a teacher. We have a classroom. So we've got to kind of pick and choose what's best served by the majority of our students. But basically, architectural and mechanical is where we're concentrating. Maybe in the future we can open it up. We're trying to do some more projects. Now, one of the things I didn't touch on is in our science department and hopefully computer science department, knock on wood, that we are going to be increasing our research program. Our research program is open to 9th graders who are going to 10th grade. It is a 3-year program where students will be exposed to scientific research. Not looking in books or anything, but actually hands-on doing the work. Next year we plan to offer an engineering research program, lift that off, where students will be designing a new product and testing that product and seeing if they can make something work. We also have, in the science department, we have the biochemistry, geochemistry, and the wildlife management research areas. And I would invite you to come to our science night that is going to be held April 4th, first Tuesday in April. In this building, it's open to the public, and you'll see what the students are doing. It's going to be a poster fest on the 3rd floor, and I'm sure Mr. Finkel will be sending out something via the email and whatever else we do. But you're all welcome to attend and see what the students do, and see whether or not your little ones would be interested to do that. Yes?
Is the science research program different than the science clubs that exist? That's separate, or how does
That's a good question. So yes, and hopefully not. We run out of space and time. And some of the things that we really like to do, like our Electrathon club, which builds an electric car and races, I would love for that to be into the curriculum, but we just don't have the space or the time for that. So yes and no, just like our CS Gems and Gens, I think it's a very additive program to our overall core mission, but there's really not the room and the time that is necessary for it with the people that run it can only be done after school. So we're trying to bring more in, but we're a small facility.
Is there a computer science?
Yeah, AP Java.
Java.
That's it?
Sorry, the previous slide, please. So you mentioned something about the credit marketing applied for AP biology. I just didn't catch that particular. Not sure if I got that together.
Okay, so students will get credit for every course they take. The APs will not satisfy a graduation requirement. So you can't say, you could say, my son or daughter is amazing at biology. Johns Hopkins swears that they should take AP Bio, and they may, but they're not going to. They're going to take biology. Then the following year, they have the opportunity to take AP Biology, because our AP programs in science are a 2-year program, and we have tremendous success with that model. We're going to continue that model. So they take honors or CP to get the credit, then they are eligible to take the advanced placement course. Any further questions? Just feel free to email me. Thanks. History.
Hi. I'm not Dr. Lewis. Either that or he shrunk a lot. Dr. Lewis is double booked because there's a board meeting in the next building because of the snow days. So I'm Jessica Bowen and I'm just filling in for him tonight. So I'm going to talk to you about the history department scope and sequence. We have a great math and science program that, as you've heard in the ELA. We have an old joke at AMSA that we were going to call it the Advanced Humanities Academy, but then it would be AHA, and no one would come. So, we do have a really great history program, and one of the nice things about AMSA, because most of our students we have from grades 6 through 12, we sort of have a sequence that locks us in and we make sure that everybody gets everything. So it's a continuation of the middle school history program. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they've been taking ancient history, and up now your students are in 8th grade, so they are taking world history up until 1750. So our goal in the 8th grade curriculum is to get them up through the Age of Enlightenment, and then in 9th grade, we will pick that up from where we left off. It usually picks up about French Revolution. And you can see that in grade 9, will be recommended by their 8th grade teacher to take either the college prep level or the honors level. And then they should get to the present day. By June, we're pushing that, no doubt about it. But we're trying to get up to, my goal is always to get up to 9/11, so they sort of have a sense of the modern world. And then in grade 10, we take them for the first time into U.S. history. The U.S. history curriculum at AMSA is broken up into a 2-year program, as is like 99% of high schools in Massachusetts. When you see the state frameworks, it's like this. The first year, U.S. History 1, they take beginnings through the Civil War and Reconstruction. And then in the 11th grade, they take post-Reconstruction up to the present day. And that is the end of the required graduation requirements for history. They only need to take 3 years of history to graduate. And then in 12th grade, it's open to electives. You can also see in this column that we offer quite a few advanced placement classes in the history department. The first one that we offer is in 10th grade. They can take AP European History, and you see that we've waited until they've taken a whole scope of the European history at a regular level. We also, for the first, we're offering AP Macroeconomics at the 10th grade level as well. In 11th grade, they can take AP US History. They can also take the best course offered here at AMSA currently is AP US Government. You want to make sure you get your kids on that list. Very popular, very worth it. I'm not sure, does anybody know who's teaching that? And then if you're a junior, you can also take any of the others. So the juniors are also eligible for AP Euro or AP Macro. And then in the senior level, we've been offering AP Psychology in addition to any of the others. We also have a lot of history electives, and we try and rotate the history electives based on sort of what teacher interests are, what student interests are, what faculty we have available to teach what they're good at. So next year, the electives that we're offering are a Global Traveler course, which is a bit of a current events all over the world, sort of look at what's happening geopolitically all over the world. We have a course called Titans of History, which is going to look at in-depth 4 main, it will be like a mini biography, in-depth look at 4 great figures of history. Leonardo da Vinci has been bounced around as an idea, Elizabeth I, Victoria, Winston Churchill, Henry Ford, you know, sort of those great ones that you can really sort of sink your teeth into, Teddy Roosevelt, something like that. We're going to have a course on the Wild West, the mythology of the West and how it sort of shapes not only what happened, but what today is happening. And then we also have a citizenship elective for students who they're not ready to take AP level government, but we want them to have some basis of government. In past years, we've offered other history electives, including military history, criminology, a non-AP level psychology, African American history. We have quite a few that we've sort of had in the past. That's all I've got, unless you have questions for me. Oh, wait a minute, I have one more thing. This Saturday at 9 a.m., taping the high school quiz show in Boston. We hope to see you all there. Okay, now I'll take your questions.
So in grade 10, if they don't take US history and they take one of the APs offered to them, in 11th grade when they go, can they take US history too, or do they have to stick to the AP side of the?
Okay, so she's asking, can they take an AP instead of a US history and then bump to 2? You can't, you have to take both. So in 10th grade, either of these advanced placements would be in addition to and the regular US history. So that's gonna take up an extra block on their schedule. You can't take one of these instead of, it's in addition to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are the 4 electives open to 9th graders as well?
Generally speaking, most of the electives in this column are open to 9th graders as well. So I believe all 4 of these are open to 9th graders next year when you go to look at your course placement.
This is about, you want to discuss about citizenship and AP Gov, like the national certificate.
Oh, so citizenship is like a junior version of AP Gov. So you can take citizenship, and then if you love it so much, you can take AP Government, but you can't do the reverse. You can't take like the bumped up version and then earn yourself a nice easy A afterwards after you've already learned it. Yeah, we caught on. No dummies here. I'm gonna get here and then I'll see.
In general, once the kids cover the required courses, how many electives do they have?
Yeah, how many, so once they take the required courses, how much room do they have for electives? It really depends on the students, and what you'll find, I should mention too that my own children have come through AMSA. I have one that's a graduate and one that's going to be a senior, so I've sort of done it on your end as well. But as they get into high school, in the middle school, their course of studies is very prescribed. This is what you will take. And in the high school, they have a lot more flexibility. So how many history electives will depend on how many science electives they're taking and how many computer science classes and art classes. So generally speaking, they have to take, and guidance, you could probably help me on this, they're probably taking 6 classes that are required, and then they have some flexibility, 2 or 3 electives, and then the higher you get, the fewer requirements there are, and they're open for more electives. You had a hand up here, and then I'll come back over here.
Sort of similar, which is trying to decide with the system. You know, if you have to take US History 1, will you have enough blocks in the schedule to fit the 20 people?
In the 10th grade, you can probably fit 1 AP, which is good. We don't want the 10th graders filling their schedules up with APs. They're not ready yet. So it's sort of structured that way.
You have to choose either AP History or AP Java
Yeah.
or AP History.
That's right, yeah.
How many AP would,
In the sophomore year, we recommend 1. I think if you...
at the end of graduation, how many APs?
A fair amount, depending on what they choose for their junior and senior year. And I can talk a little bit about that. We're going to look at a 9th grade registration example together, and then we can talk through that a little bit. I mean, we have kids who've taken probably six total over their time here, but that's really pushing a lot of the way. It's hard.
No study halls, no social life.
Yeah.
No time to unload your dishwasher. You don't want that.
A question about the electives for 9th grade. Are those, like, are many 9th graders taking those, or do you have mostly juniors and seniors in those?
They're a nice mix, and one of the nice things about the electives, and I can only speak to the history department, but because they're open to multi-grade, they get to know kids in other grades, which is really nice. And these electives in the history department are every other day, so they're a half credit, so that lets them fit a few more in. The AP is every day, but most of these electives are every other day.
So is it possible for a 9th grader to pick 2 electives, or is there a rule against that?
We'll look at it. Yeah, I've got a diagram. It'll make it a lot simpler, I promise. The visual aid. Yeah. But this is great, so keep asking your questions.
Any other questions? All right, don't forget, high school quiz show, AP Government.
You're up to world languages.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah Preston, welcome. So as you probably know, during grades 6 to 8, students are required to take Latin. We believe that builds a strong foundation in Romance languages as well as building their English vocabulary. Now at the end of 8th grade, they decide whether they want to continue on with Latin, in which case they would take Latin 2, 9th grade, or they can decide to take either French or Spanish. And we have actually next week some upper level students in French and Spanish who are going to speak to the 8th graders in directed study to just talk a little bit about why they decided to pick French or Spanish, what they like about it, what the benefits may be, just since the students may not have had exposure to French or Spanish yet. We do that as a way to help them decide what language might be a good fit for them. So if students are opting to take French or Spanish are sort of similar because they both start at level 1. I should mention also that students can take a placement test. So if we have a student who either they speak the language at home or took language prior to coming to AMSA, they can take a placement test. Just let me know, and we can figure out whether level 1 or perhaps level 2 would be more appropriate. So that is an option as well. But typically, students who have been at AMSA from 6th grade would start in level 1 for French or Spanish. Sophomore year is when they have the option of either college prep or honors. And so that would be level 2. And then junior year, again, would be level 3, college prep or honors for both French and Spanish. You have to be in, for AP French, the requirement is to take French 3 honors. So that is the requirement for AP French. Likewise, for AP Spanish, Spanish 3 honors would be the requirement prior to AP. And one of the main differences between the CP and the honors, it would be that honors is taught mostly in the target language, and it moves at a faster pace. You get through a lot more advanced grammar topics than you would in the CP class. There is also the alternative for both French and Spanish at the senior level, where they can opt to do level 4, which is more of a culture-based class, where they would watch films in the target language, analyze the movies, and that type of thing. So for students who opt to continue on with Latin, we again have all the way up to AP Latin, so they would start in 9th grade with either CP or honors. And I should also mention that for Latin and French, oftentimes the CP and honors classes are mixed, just depending on the number of students. And then Latin, 10th grade, they would continue on. There the focus is poetry. Junior year, they do more focus on prose. And then for grade 12, they can do AP Latin or Latin 5. So that's sort of the track there for languages. And although the requirement is that they take 2 years of a foreign language, the vast majority of students take 3. It's what most colleges look for, is at least 3 years of the same language. And we also have a lot of students who take 4 years. So certainly we would encourage that if it fits into people's schedules to hopefully take at least 3 years. Also this next year, we are offering the elective, if we have enough students signed up, for Intro to Ancient Greek. That is a class that we've offered in the past, and that does not fulfill the language requirement, but that would be an elective offered to juniors and seniors. So I can move on to, I've got art coming up, and then we can do questions on either one. So for art electives, we have a number of choices, and they are all half a credit, with the exception of AP Studio Art, which is 1 credit. And just as a reminder, students are required to get 1 credit of art, so 2 half-credit courses. And chorus, which I don't know if, okay, yeah. So Jessica Bowen, who was just speaking, she teaches chorus. But this is a performance-based elective where they focus on singing, of course, and both Western art masterpieces and drawing and painting are requirements prior to AP Studio Art. So those are both required classes, and Western art masterpieces looks, it's essentially an art history course. And 3D art, very interesting elective where they use all different media such as clay and wire and plastic and cardboard. We've got printmaking as well. Usually we alternate years between printmaking and multicultural art. This year we offered multicultural art, and so next year we will offer printmaking unless there's a lot of interest in also doing multicultural art. Digital media is a new course this year, And it's an interdisciplinary course that's co-taught by a computer science teacher as well as an art teacher. And that's open to juniors and seniors. It's very, very popular. So we had to cap it to juniors and seniors, and that's where they look at everything from digital photography, animation, video, and that type of thing. So we're looking forward to offering that again next year. And then, of course, AP Studio Art, which is a full credit. That's for juniors and seniors. Again, the requirement is for the Western Art Masterpieces and the drawing and painting. That course is also, you would need to set up a time to meet with the AP art teacher, Miss Amy Norton, and show her a portfolio of at least 5 works. And by the end of that course, you would submit a portfolio to the AP College Board, which would have 24 pieces of art, 12 of which are breadth pieces, show a variety, and then 12 concentration. So that's, oh, and also I want to let you know that next Wednesday the 24th is our Winter Arts Night, and that will be here as of starting at 6 o'clock right here in the cafeteria, and that's when we'll have our chorus perform, our jazz bands, the a cappella group, the photosynthesizers. We'll have our drama club do a mini performance, a song, and we'll have the student artwork on display from grade 6 all the way to AP Art. It's really tremendous. If you can stop by even for a few minutes to check out the student artwork, I would recommend it. So that, again, is coming up on Wednesday the 24th. Does anyone have any questions at all?
Can you go back to the... I have a question. It's like, now, when you say like grade 9, this is going to take French, Spanish, Latin.
Okay, so they wouldn't pick. They would pick either French, Spanish, or Latin.
They're going to pick only one.
Right, we do have on occasion, it's hard to get it to fit in the schedule, but on occasion we do have students who will opt to take more than one language. So it can be tricky, especially in 9th grade, to make that work. But I can think of some students who have taken more than one language, but generally they take one of the 3 languages. Okay, let's see. Michael.
Those students who start at not at level 1, at level 2 in 9th grade, but at the same time they want to have 4 years of foreign language, what would be the recommended choice for grade 12 or the
Right, and that is an excellent choice, and that this is sort of a new situation that we're facing at AMSA. And so, like, for example, I teach Spanish 3 honors, and I have 5 students who will be taking AP Spanish as a junior. And so we will have to come up with a new class for them to take, perhaps something like conversational Spanish, something of that nature, so that they will have 4 years. Yeah, so I'm already thinking about it. Yes, sir.
So you said that colleges are usually looking for 3 years of foreign language. That's usually a graduation requirement?
Well, the graduation requirement is 2.
For college or for school?
I don't know if I would say requirement, you can help, but just sort of the preference is that they're looking for 3 years.
Many colleges require 2 years of a language study in high school. Many look for 3. Some actually don't require any for admission, exactly. In college, different schools have different graduation requirements to get there.
I'm just kind of asking about this admissions requirement thing. So is Latin as good as French or Spanish in that regard?
Yes. Yep.
And I would say too that if they score at least a 3 on the AP exam of any of the 3 languages, that they can get exempt from taking that language in college as well. Yeah.
You mentioned that in French and Spanish honors, it's a mixed class.
So French, very often they have to combine college prep with honors for French because we just don't have enough students usually to separate the 2 levels. Of course, the students would have different assignments and would be assessed differently. So, and ideally, we always look to try to keep the levels separated, but that's not always possible. Spanish, the only time Spanish traditionally is combined is Spanish 4 is often combined, the Spanish 4 CP and honors, but we haven't combined level 2 or 3 just because of the number of students.
But for Latin, you have enough to have separate classes?
Again, it just depends on how many students sign up. So I know like Latin 2 this year, we have 2 sections of Latin 2 that are combined, and most people are in the honors section, so there weren't enough students in Latin 2 CP to have a separate course. But again, you know, our teachers are very, Latin and French especially, they're very accustomed to having the levels combined and have a wide range of abilities, so they know how to differentiate and all that.
With respect to math, the kids are taking in middle school, does it count towards the high school? Because actually...
It doesn't count towards the requirement in the high school for graduation, but obviously, because they're starting at 9th grade at level 2, you know, in that case, and obviously having it in middle school, it certainly helps them.
Towards like the 4th year of graduation?
No, fortunately, yeah. Yes?
I know you say you're going to make the students next week to ask them why they're picking one language over the other. Is there a way you can advise parents on what language to encourage the students to take as their future career path instead of...
Sure. You know, there are so many benefits to all 3 languages. So Latin, one of the major benefits of Latin is that it strongly builds your English vocabulary, so at least like half of the words we have in English come from Latin. Certainly the legal profession, you've got all the legal terms in Latin, a lot of scientific terms that are in Latin, so that would be helpful for the field of medicine, I would say field of medicine and law. But I would say, so even before I go on to talk about the benefits of Spanish and French, I think the best thing to do is where your son or daughter are the most interested. If they're really passionate about Latin in middle school and they love it, then by all means have them continue on. But if they're really excited to learn another language, whether it's French or Spanish, you know, so I would try to encourage you to have your son or daughter follow their heart more on that one, because honestly, there's so many benefits of all 3 languages. Spanish, you know, certainly could apply to absolutely any profession you do. Hispanics are the largest minority in our country, growing rapidly each year. So in terms of communication for any profession, Spanish would be incredible, whether you're communicating with clients in the legal field or as a doctor with your patients, whether you're in international relations, advertising. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can use Spanish. French also is widely spoken in the world. We have it right with our neighbors in Canada, a major trading partner. We have numerous countries in Europe, also countries in Africa, so there's a number of countries there too. It's also the official language of the United Nations, of the International Red Cross, a lot of other major international communities. So really, I don't know, I guess you can't go wrong. I would say if you're struggling, I definitely feel free to email me, and I can talk to you more about your specific son or daughter, what their interests are.
What about if students love Latin but also would like to learn another language?
Right. So yeah, I mean, for example, I studied Latin and Spanish in high school, and I think that's incredible. If they're able to fit it in their schedule, more power to them. It is difficult to do, especially in 9th grade. It's not. We have had students do it, but it's difficult.
I found all the credits, and I need 1 credit for Latin, 1 credit for Spanish, for example, and there is no way to teach.
I don't know that in the 9th grade year, I think it also depends on, you know, what level, because we also, I should mention, have had students. I can think of a student who took French as a 9th grader and decided that she wanted to take Spanish instead. So she studied Spanish independently as a 9th grader, and then she tested into Spanish 2 honors as a 10th grader. So we have had situations like that, or for other languages. You know, so if people change their mind, you can switch to a different language.
But we are talking about
Sure. Sure, and that would be, certainly I advocate for that. You're right, it is difficult to achieve with the schedule. I don't know if you have any more to say about that.
I think it's typically unlikely that students are able to fit in 2 languages as a 9th grader, but it's more possible that they may be able to add another language as they go. So if they're starting off in Latin, they may be able to add French 1 or Spanish 1 as a sophomore or a junior when things start to open up a little bit. But it's very nearly, I would need to do some number crunching. I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's very improbable that a student would be able to fit 4 years of 2 languages with the other graduation requirements that we have.
Certainly they would have to do some studying outside of AMSA, on-site courses.
You always could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think you said this and I missed it.
No, it's okay.
For grade 9, are they Spanish, French, they're both CP, or there's not an honors class offered?
That's right. For level 1, it's just, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. So now we have Pete Jones, Director of the Athletic Department.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. As Sarah said, my name is Pete Jones. I'm the Athletic Director here at AMSA. I'm in my 9th year as an Athletic Director. I'm almost at my 2nd year anniversary here at AMSA. And I'm awful proud to be the Athletic Director here at AMSA, and the reason is our kids. Not to be too cliche, but our kids are fantastic. They really handle themselves really well when they're out competing and representing our school. And we really try and impress upon them that they're representing more than just themselves. They're representing you guys, their families, they're representing our school and our school community. And they really, really do a nice job with that, and that's why I'm so proud to be the Athletic Director here. We're not perfect. There's certainly things we need to work on and get better at, and there are instances that need to be dealt with, but extremely proud of our student athletes. What you'll see up here is just a few of our offerings. As you can see, we're a member of the MIAA. The MIAA is the governing body of high school athletics in our state, to which we are usually a Division 2, 3, or 4 member, depending on what sport. We're getting bigger. We're approaching 1,000 students now when you consider grades 6 through 12, so I don't ever see us as a Division 1 school, but we do fluctuate between Divisions 2, 3, and 4. And as you can see, we're a member of the Colonial Athletic League, which is a league here in Central Mass, which is a lot of our tech schools. You might be familiar with schools like Blackstone Valley Tech, Assabet Valley, Keefe Tech in Framingham. We're in a league with them. And then there's a few charter schools in that league as well. Abby Kelly of Worcester and Parker Charter of Devon. So it's a nice league, and AMSA made the move to that league 2 years ago, and it's been a really good fit. We're really happy with where we're at in that league. So the offerings that we do have here at school athletically are on the slide here. The top half, soccer to golf, is our fall offerings. The middle here, basketball to indoor track, is our winter offerings, and the bottom 4, baseball to tennis, are our spring offerings. We do have a robust set of offerings for a school as young as ours. It's even more robust than it looks. I mean, if you consider like soccer, we have boys and girls soccer at both the varsity and JV level. So we do have, like I said, a pretty robust set of offerings, to which we've expanded on a bit in recent years. We've had a boys lacrosse that was pretty well established. We've just started a girls lacrosse program, so we do have a girls lacrosse offering now. Tennis, our boys are involved in a co-op at Marlboro High School. We just started a girls tennis program, and they were met with immediate success. The girls tennis program went to the Division III finals last year in their first year in existence, so that was a really good fit for us. I mentioned the boys tennis program playing in a cooperative program at Marlboro High. The offerings you see here are, in one fashion or another, exactly what they're an offering for our students. They're an opportunity for our students to participate in. Many of them are our own. Many of them are, we do have our own soccer, cross-country, golf, volleyball programs. But if you see wrestling, that's a cooperative program with Assabet and Hudson High School. It is our wrestling program. It is the AMSA wrestling program, but Assabet and Hudson are participants with us. Conversely, you'll see hockey. We don't have our own hockey program. It's Assabet's hockey program, but our boys are allowed to participate for Assabet. New this year is a girls ice hockey offering. St. Peter Mary and Central Catholic of Worcester started a girls ice hockey program. They were struggling to find the numbers to get it off the ground, so we were lucky enough to join that program. So of the 9 girls on that St. Peter Mary and girls hockey roster, 5 of them are from AMSA. So we're very proud of that. That team's doing very well. So again, these are opportunities for our students to play, and they come in a few different fashions. It could be our own program or a cooperative program. Just a little bit about the seasons themselves. Like I said, soccer to golf is the fall season. That ranges from this. That begins the second Thursday preceding Labor Day, and it goes until about Thanksgiving. So oftentimes those trials will begin even before we're in school. It's always the second Thursday preceding Labor Day. The winter offerings begin the Monday after Thanksgiving and go until about mid-March, but it always begins the Monday after Thanksgiving. And in the spring, our baseball, softball, lacrosse, tennis, outdoor track, that always begins the third Monday in March and goes until about mid-June. So those time frames, really don't change. And we do have those start dates on the website. And again, not the specific date, but I can tell you, the second Thursday preceding Labor Day is the start of the fall. Monday after Thanksgiving is the start of the winter, and so forth. So those start dates don't change. Can I have the next slide? Sure.
Do you still offer football?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Porter. Yes, football. When I was going over the new offerings, I forgot we do have a new football offering. Like I mentioned, the cooperative opportunities that we do have here, one of them is football, and it's at Maynard High School. It was new this fall. We just finished our first season as participants in the Maynard High School football program. We were very fortunate to find ourselves in that situation. The way in which you can involve yourself in a co-op is that host school needs to demonstrate a need. So you might say, you're right down the street from Algonquin, or we're in the town of Marlboro, city of Marlboro. Those football programs didn't have that need. They didn't have that need to bolster their numbers. Maynard did. So while it's one of our core towns and it is about a half-hour ride, we were very fortunate to find ourselves in that position, and we were able to join that cooperative program. Yes, ma'am?
Where do you play tennis?
So our boys tennis players participate in the co-op at Marlboro High School, and that's a spring sport. Recently, as recent as last spring, we started our own girls program, our own girls, AMSA Girls Tennis, and we utilize the courts over at Assabet across town.
So the school bus would take them?
Yeah, Coach David Gordon is a phys ed teacher here at Marlboro. He's also the coach, he's a phys ed teacher here at AMSA. He's also the coach, and he drives the girls to practice each afternoon. Just a little bit more about the kind of the nuts and bolts of the athletic department. I put down that we have high standards, and what I mean by that is when the students are here at school, if there's a disciplinary matter that might pop up during their school day, it will in all likelihood carry over to athletics. We do hold the kids to a very high standard, and we expect them to kind of, when applicable, be leaders amongst their peers. So, when there are disciplinary issues in the building, their coaches do hear about it, and oftentimes there are ramifications athletically. Community service, our students, this is another reason why I'm so proud of our kids. Our students are always doing community service. I would be shocked if your son or daughter can get through a school year without doing community service in one of the groups they're involved in. Our kids are all in on community service, and we do a ton of it as a school. So that's a really great thing for our kids. I think as an athletic department, we could probably do a little bit more as far as individual sports, getting out there and doing stuff. But again, our school as a whole is so involved in that. One thing I will highlight about community service, and there's so many great things our school has done, but our girls soccer program in the wake of the hurricane in Houston raised about $4,000 to send to the schools down in Houston. So that was just an example of our kids watching what's going on in the world and saying, hey, I want to do something about that. And they got together as a team and made a difference. So that was really cool. The AMSA athlete, you've now seen a bit of an overview of our academic program. It is intense. It is a difficult school academically, as you all know. So the life of an AMSA athlete can be a little bit more complex, and time management is of the essence. They really have to make sure that they're getting their work done, because there are time commitments for their athletic programs that they're involved in. And as the students progress to the JV and varsity level, that time commitment grows and gets larger. So for our kids to have the success that they've had athletically is really impressive given the academic atmosphere they're in here. Coupled with the fact that we don't have any of our own facilities. That's also a really difficult thing on our athletic program, but our kids have overcome that, and despite just really being an academic institution, they're starting to see a lot of success as an athletic program as well. And dovetailing on that, we're now starting to see some athletes going on to play in college. We just had a young lady graduate last year who earned a Division I soccer scholarship to play at Bryant College. Another young lady is playing club basketball at UMass Lowell. We had a couple of golfers that are playing club golf at the next level. So again, we're starting to see a lot, more and more success amongst our student athletes and the programs as a whole. So it's a great school, and you know, we'll continue working on the athletic department and hope to continue to do great things. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So what is the threshold, or what does it take to start a cooperative program?
So that's a good question. The largest hurdle we'll ever try and overcome when we're trying to start a host program, and again, there would have to be interest here in our community. We'd have to find a host school that is A, willing to take us on, and be able to demonstrate to the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association that they can't do it on their own, that they have a need for numbers. So it's complex, and there's a lot of red tape that you have to get through, but it's not impossible. Can I ask, is there a sport in mind?
Well, the sports that you don't have on your list now.
Well, you know, there's not a ton. Again, if you think of the different fashions we offer them, the cooperative programs, our own programs, all I can think of is field hockey and boys volleyball. I think those are really the only two things that we don't have. I don't see swimming up there. We do have a co-ed swim team. Our co-ed swim team competes in the fall, so that is another offering. I don't remember seeing that on the slide. So. Fencing, it's a club, and I kind of disseminate the information. But it's not really a competitive sport. They'll go and compete once or twice a year, but it's really just an after-school club. They meet every Friday. There's 4 sessions throughout the school year. I kind of just disseminate that information, but it's not really it's not an MIA recognized sport. Yes, sir. Sure. So at the athletics department is interscholastic sports. So we compete against other schools, and that takes place after school. That's above and beyond the students' academic school day. There are phys ed and health requirements. You know, every public school in the state, all students have to take phys ed and health. That is separate from this. That is not part of the athletic department. There's a separate department head for that even. Athletics are not required. Nope, athletics are optional things that kids would try out for after school. Mr. Porter?
The fees on the athletics, how do you come up with that? What are they based on?
That's a good question. So our fee right now is $320 per sport. And some of those cooperative programs have their own fee that would be separate from us. It's a board decided number. There's a finance committee, I believe, as part of the board, and they come up with that. What I'll be very honest with you guys about is we don't have our own facilities, so what we have to pay for kicks to utilize their facilities, that is an incredible amount of money that other schools don't have to spend.
So if it's co-op, you don't have to pay $320, or you still do?
If it's a co-op at another school, you would not pay the AMSA fee, you would pay that school's fee. So for football, Maynard has a $400 fee, so that's a fee that they would collect.
So that is for the season or the month?
I'm sorry?
320 is for the month or season?
That's for the entire season. Again, the seasons last 2.5 to 3 months, and that would cover the entire season. So it's a substantial fee, and believe me, I don't enjoy collecting it at all. But that, needing to rent facilities is an exorbitant amount of money that makes it tough. Yes,
Are
sir?
there any courses that the athletics department kind of works with the science, biology, whatever, to help kids understand their bodies and how to take care of it? Is there something of that?
Not so much the extracurricular athletic department. Certainly the phys ed and the wellness department would kind of collaborate with the science department on kinesiology and health-related things, but not really the after-school athletics. Mr. Deckers.
There's a growing number of hockey players. Any chance of us getting our own team?
That's a great question. I'm certainly not opposed to it, and I'm aware of the growing number. And in another realm of that question is right now we're involved in a co-op with ASABIT. That co-op is likely to go away. As I've said, they can't demonstrate that need. They have enough players now at ASABIT. So nothing is official, no official steps have been taken, but I have had conversations with other athletic directors about joining their program, and it looks very promising. So we won't lose our opportunity. As far as starting our own opportunity, again, I'm certainly not opposed to that. That would likely be a multi-year process that maybe we could talk about that privately. I'm certainly willing to take a closer look at that, and then it would just be a matter of getting that approved by the board. But what I can say in my 2 years here is the board and Dr. Lewis have been extremely open to advancing our athletic department. So it's certainly something that I think is worth the conversation. Because like you said, we do have a growing number of male hockey players. All right, thank you for your time, guys. I'll be around after if anyone has any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, back to me. So I'll briefly touch on health and wellness. We don't have them here tonight. The courses are required. We require, as Massachusetts schools do, PE and or health every year. So our students in 9th and 11th are taking PE. Our students in 10th grade are taking an integrated PE and wellness course. And then our seniors have a senior PE class. That's the quarter of a credit, that I spoke about. That happens opposite our senior seminar class. So, the course selection process. How does this actually work? We met with your students during DS to go over the general course selection process and their general options for next year. So we showed them how to go into Plus portals and look at their course recommendations, and then also select their courses. They can go in multiple times, and there's a button at the bottom that says Save and Revisit. And so that's what we've asked them to do until they've talked more with you and really spoken to some of their teachers. Once they press Submit, we can still change them, but it takes a little more legwork, and the students and you can change them on your own. So if you could try to make sure that you're pretty sure that you've selected the courses that you want for them for next year, that would be helpful. So the students, you register online through Plus portals. When they go in, there's a little button that says course registration, and once they click that, they click on the form that says 9th grade registration, and then it brings them up to a page that has each department. So many of you may have already seen that if you've looked at it with them. There's it's a little funky, but you actually have to click where it says course recommendation, and then it'll drop down and you'll be able to see what their current teacher recommended. So if you're like, it says course recommendation, but it's not showing up, just click on that and it'll pop right up. So students will receive teacher recommendations for math, English, biology for science, and history. We recommend that students take 7.5 credits. They're required to take 7. Students who are taking 7.5 credits will have 1 study hall every other day. As students are transitioning into 9th grade, we find that most students enjoy having that study hall time. First, it's a little bit of a break in their day every other day, which a lot of them find really helpful. It's a time to decompress, it's a time to do a little bit of homework, it's time to get organized. So many students take that half-credit study hall, and we really support that. We had some kids this year who said, nope, I don't need it. And so they took 8, and within the first 3 or 4 weeks, we're like, can I please drop something, because I do need that time. They've had DS for 3 years, and so to go from that to no study halls at all is a little bit of a shock to the system. So again, we recommend 7.5. Some kids even choose 7 because they know that they have a lot of either athletic or outside responsibilities, that they don't necessarily have as much time outside to be doing homework, and so they need that time built in during the day. That is possible. We also recommend that students take an art or a chorus class in grade 9, along with a computer science class. On my next slide, you'll see a grid, and I'll talk through that a little bit. We also would recommend that you begin to consider prerequisites. So our program of studies really clearly lays out any prerequisite courses that you need to have. So if your child is thinking about taking AP Computer Science, and they really want to take it as a sophomore, because that's really where their interest lies, they need to be taking Intro to Java as a freshman. So while it's not necessarily important to plan out all 4 years right away, it is really important to begin thinking about what are the courses that I really want to hit? What are my priorities? And then begin to plan backwards a little bit from that. So that you can make sure that you've hit the prerequisites, especially in 9th and 10th grade, to reach those 11th and 12th grade courses that you know that they're going to be most interested in. You can ask your question now if you want.
So can the student take the intro to Java at home, or it has to be only as part of an AMSA class?
As part of the AMSA class. Yeah, if you have specific CS questions though, you can definitely talk to Mr. Dre, or Dr. Dre, you can email him. I'm not sure about that specific question. You can also email one of our computer science faculty members and they can talk to you a little bit more about that. Okay, so this is an example. So as a 9th grade student, most students are going to have 1 English, 1.5 credits in algebra, and half credit in geometry, so that's the 2 math that we talked about. World history, biology, a language, half a credit in PE, half a credit in computer science, and then half a credit in art. So some students choose to wait on art. They only need 1 credit, which is 2 half credits over their 4 years. So it's certainly possible to fit them in later. We do recommend very, very strongly that all students take a computer science elective in their freshman year. Because they need 3 half credits, especially if they want some choice in what they take, it's better to start with 1 freshman year. If they wait and they don't start that progression until sophomore year, they may need 1 more senior year, and it may meet against that AP that they really want to take, but they have to take that 3rd credit for graduation. So we just don't want to see them getting jammed up that way for their senior year. So most, I would say 95 to 98% of students this year are taking at least the computer science, and most are also taking an art class this year. I spent the day with our current 9th graders and our 11th graders working through course registration individually, and most of the freshmen right now are like, oh cool, yeah, I've already got a good start on these graduation requirements, and so I have the room to pick AP Bio, or I really want to take AP Macro as a sophomore, and they could fit that in because they'd already begun some of this. So it's really, you know, it's an individual choice, but it's important to start thinking about that, beginning some of these graduation requirements now so that they're not stuck later having to sacrifice something that they really want to take a course that perhaps they're a little less interested in, but they do need for graduation. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, that 7.5 credits would give them 1 study hall every other day. Okay, yes. So the deadline to submit the course recommendation or the course request is February 2nd. So that's about 2 weeks from now. Okay. Yep, it should be fine. And we also find that, again, we can go in and we can make some of the changes if we need to, and so we know there's some adjustment that happens. We're doing all of this a little bit earlier than we've done before because we really want to be able to get schedules out to students in the spring. We found that that really helps lessen anxiety over the summer. Then the unintended consequence of that, trying to push everything, is then we have to have this conversation now as opposed to maybe February, early March. So if we need to make adjustments because a student is either farther along than their teacher thought they would have been, or maybe has been struggling more than they thought they would be, we can definitely make those changes, even April, May, and June if we need to. Okay. Other questions? I have 1 more slide. Yes?
Okay. If you don't agree with the course
Yes.
recommendation from the teacher, what's the process?
Yeah, so the process is twofold. So the first thing that I would recommend that you do is get in touch with the teacher that they have right now and just ask. And they may be able to explain, oh, well, I was really concerned because this particular thing was really hard for them, or I haven't seen the level of writing that I know that they're going to need to be able to put forth. So that information will then help you decide, okay, what happens next? We do have a process in place that includes a meeting with a parent, a teacher, and the department chair, who you met tonight, to really sit down and look at the work and try to make a decision together. So we don't have an override process, so to speak, but we do have a process to have a continued conversation if there is a discrepancy between the teacher recommendation and the parent recommendation. At that point, if that group can't come to consensus, the department chair has the final say. We really want to set students up to be successful. And there was a time where we didn't have a process for that, and so students were often taking classes that they weren't recommended for and then really, really struggling and wanting to drop down later. So we're trying to figure out how to fit that, sort of that happy medium of making sure that we're having really good conversations, and then we're also playing to kids' strengths so that they can excel in the areas that they're most confident and most interested in as well. So we welcome the conversation for sure. Yes?
If it's the other way.
If it's the other way, you can always say, I don't want them to take the honors class. They're going to do CP this year, that's fine. And we don't have to meet endlessly about that. And we definitely have students who are recommended for things, but they, again, decide, like, you know what, I'm just not quite ready. Or they look, you'll see in the course of studies this year, we've asked departments to do some estimation of weekly homework. And so we have students who are 3-sport athletes and have said, you know what, I don't have time to do 6-8 hours of homework per week total. I don't necessarily want to opt for the honors class right now until I've tried, ninth grade and have kind of figured out what's my groove in high school. So that's okay.
What if they have picked a course and in the middle of the year they figure out they can't handle and can they move down, or how is that just?
So possibly.
Does it affect their grade?
It doesn't necessarily affect their grade. The problem is often the schedule. Does the schedule accommodate? Does it blow up their entire schedule? Because if we need to move a bunch of other stuff, then it doesn't logistically work out very well. The other thing that sometimes happens is that there may not necessarily be space for them to move down. If the other class, if they're in the honors and the CP class is full, we just are out of room. And we had that happen with one of our courses this year. So we've asked kids to make really mindful choices at this stage and try to be very realistic with themselves about what do they actually want to be doing next year, as opposed to just signing up honors all the way down their form without really thinking about what that means.
So if there is no room, if they're having a hard time, they're stuck with it. They have
They're kind of stuck. And we have office hours, we have tutors, like we will really work hard to try to figure out how to support them. And if a course change makes sense and it works, we will do it. But again, sometimes logistically, with that schedule, it's so many moving pieces that it's really difficult sometimes. Yeah, it's a great question, thank you. Yes?
Similar to not taking too many APs, do you have a recommendation for not taking too many honors level courses?
I think it really depends on the student, and again, the level or the amount of time that they have outside to work. So I would look a little bit more at the homework estimation for the honors versus CP classes and take a look at that. It's in the program of studies, which is on the website, and it's been updated. So you'll see it's an 18-19 version, which it blows my mind to see 18-19 on anything right now, but that's where we are. So I think that's important. We do have some students who take all honors, but many of our students decide to take one CP, even if they were recommended for all honors. There's some kids that say, like, I'm not sure I'm ready yet. But we always tell them to play to their strengths. Take the classes that you're most interested in at that higher level. But also take the most challenging course load you feel like you can reasonably handle. That's probably kind of a non-answer, but it's tough, yeah.
I appreciate that you put it down, so.
Yes.
Someone may have recommended your course, but they have, like,
Yeah.
no business taking honors.
Yeah, we want them to be realistic about how they want to spend their time, because it's a big commitment, yeah.
The transcript say whether it's honors or CP.
Yeah. Yep. So transcripts say whether it's honors or CP. We do. I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but I'll open up the can of worms. You'll see it in the program of studies. So we do have weighted GPAs based on CP honors and AP courses. So that's something to keep in mind. That being said, if you're not going to do well in an honors or an AP course, it's not worth taking it just for that little bit of a GPA bump. And it's really important that many colleges recalculate GPAs based on their own criteria. So they are going to try to take our GPA and compare our kids to kids from every other high school. So they may weight things, they may not weight things, they may drop art courses, it's up to them. So we always provide on our high school profile, which is also on the website, the GPA scale, and so they can see how our GPA was calculated, and then they will recalculate based on what they want to see so that they can compare students from different schools. Does that make sense? So it's important to know. It's certainly something to consider, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend taking all honors and AP just for the GPA points. Not the way I would go. It's funny, I talk with my hands, and my I evidently just hit 10,000 steps for the day because I've been doing this a lot. Sorry. Other questions? Yes. They're 5. Yeah. I'm sorry, say that again? Unweighted is on a 4, yes. Yep, and the scale's all in there, so you can definitely take a look. Other questions? All right, I'll skip to my last slide, and we'll see. All right, so because you're all here and I'm here, and one of my main jobs here is college and career preparation for these wonderful students. In 9th grade, we do some learning style inventories, and we look at using some tools to begin some career exploration. In 10th grade, we do some personality profile work. So who are you? Who are you as a learner? What kinds of things do you like? In grade 11 and grade 12, we have a lot of college visits that come into AMSA that students can take advantage of so they can begin meeting with college representatives. We're piloting a new junior seminar this spring that we're really, really excited about. So we will see the juniors one class out of the 8-day cycle to begin working on planning their college applications, talking about financial aid. So we've got a great curriculum that we're gonna roll out actually in just a couple weeks. We have a junior appointment with all of our juniors to meet individually. We see all of them at least once. We see most of them more than that, but we require them to sit down with us for 45 minutes and talk about their plans so that they all head off into the summer we have an understanding of where they are and they know what their next steps are based on their particular plan. And then we have a junior parent night in the winter. It's January or February time. And then in the senior year, we have the senior seminar that meets 2 blocks out of the rotation, so that's that quarter credit. A senior appointment again with us in the fall to make sure that they're good to go. And then we have a fall financial aid night as well. So things to look forward to for those of you who have older students. You may have already seen some of this. Again, Ms. Lindsay and Dr. Lewis, we're sorry that they couldn't be here. They're over in the board meeting. I'll be around for a little bit. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you for being here. Feel free to email us or email any of the department chairs with questions. And feel free to help yourself to refreshments in the back. Thank you very much. Yep, I'll post it on the website. Thank you.